All right. Hello, my name is Bob DeWar, and I am Cub Master of Pack 252 out of the Utica United Methodist Church. And I am here to talk to you today a little bit about the basics of unit budgeting. So, um, with that, I'll jump right into it here. Okay. So, one of the first questions that I'm always asked is why do we have a budget? Why do we need a budget? And I realize this may be very intuitive for some of you, but I do get to ask that question, especially from newer leaders, and or if they're in a smaller unit. Hey, we're a small group. Why do we need a budget? We just kind of pay for everything as we go, and we kind of take things month by month. So some of that goes into calendar planning, which we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But what I will tell you is that there's a lot of good reasons, besides just knowing the cost of things, a lot of good reasons why you want a budget. For example, a budget is approved by the committee. It's approved by a group of people. It's so that way it's not just one person making a decision about what belt loops or awards we're going to buy, what patches we're not going to buy, what activities and how much they cost. It's not just one person deciding these things. And so when you have a budget, you have basically your program expressed in dollars. And it's something that has been approved of by the committee, at the very least. Some units even might invite all parents to approve the budget. But also, a budget allows leaders to inform families of the cost. This is really important for new families, especially, right? Because one of the first things a new family wants to know before joining scouting is how much does it cost to be a member of your pack or your troop or your venturing crew. And being able to clearly, concisely explain what the costs are and what they pay for is certainly important for new families as well as your current families. And then finally, a budget helps keep planning on track. There's a lot of things that happen throughout the year that, especially if you've got excited parents, they see about an activity that, oh, wow, maybe this could be something that the whole pack or the whole troop does. One of the first questions that as a Cub Master I always ask is, okay, where does this fall in our calendar and in our budget planning? Is this something that we can do, but maybe we just have to keep it as a very optional activity that families will pay for on their own if they want to go? Or do we already have an event scheduled for that in that time frame? So budget helps us keep our planning on track. So some initial steps with budget planning. One of the first one is you really got to get your calendar. And we could do a whole nother session on calendar planning. But I think, any good calendar gets input from your youth as well as your adults. The youth, it's so important, especially even at the Cub Scout level. Some families or some packs may say, "Oh, we don't really get any input from our Cub Scout packs," but the parents are the ones planning everything, right? Yeah, but still, you want to get that input from your Cub Scouts. One of the things we do in our pack every year is at the end of the year crossover ceremony, when we're crossing everybody up to the next den level, is we also get their input. We have a list of the activities we did this year, and we ask them to highlight or star the ones that they want to do again. And then we also give them blanks to write things in that they maybe want to try next year. And you get all sorts of fun stuff, right? But it's a great way to get their input. Also, one other thing is I would advise reviewing the unit program planning resources at scouting.org. There are, depending whether you're a Cub Scout pack, there's Scouts BSA Troop or Venturing Crew, they have separate planning resource pages for each of those programs that have lots of good tools there. Estimate a cost per youth. So once you have your calendar and you know what activities you want to do, then it's important to go through and estimate about how much we expect to spend per youth on those activities. So for example, at a Cub Scout level, blue and gold banquet. Well, I can tell you last year we budgeted $10 a youth for the blue and gold banquet. Courts of honor at the Scouts BSA troop level, and of course you might also look at high adventure trips, summer camp, things like that you want to get those cost numbers for. So and then finally, on the initial steps is get the prices that you're going to do for required advancement pens, patches, etc. At least in our pack, we budget that every youth we expect to get all the way through rank. And so that's what we budget for them. So that means 7 belt loops, right? Or 7 activity pens. It means their cyber chip. It means, or the protect yourself rules. So we want to make sure that we've definitely got all, we've budgeted so that the amount includes all the advancement that the youth is required for a rank advancement. At the Scouts BSA level, they may youth advance much more at their own pace. But what you could do is just say you're going to budget roughly 1 rank advancement a year per youth. And then finally, to scout pay or to not scout pay. And this is in 2020, the Michigan Crossroads Council started Scout Pay website. And this is a service that allows families to pay their BSA membership fees as well as the council program fee directly to the council through the Scout Pay website. Now, not everyone uses this. I will be the first to tell you that my pack does not use this, but it could be useful for your unit if you are a unit that would rather, if families are used to paying those fees on their own anyway, then this could be an easy way to do that. The other part about Scout Pay is that, if your unit just doesn't want to deal with worry about handling registration fees and you would just rather give that responsibility completely to your families, then you can leave the registration fees out of your budget altogether because you're just going to tell parents to go on and pay on Scout Pay. So for a unit that just does not want to deal with registration fees at all, I think Scout Pay is a good option. However, if your unit is used to collecting those registration fees and building that into the cost of your budget, I'd recommend you keep doing that because it just makes things easier for your families. And personally, I think it's nice to just be able to tell them one big round number that pay this amount and you're covered for the year. So with that, I'm going to share my budget, our budget form here. Maybe. Here we go. And is that right there? So this is a budget form that basically we took right from the national website. So that, again, at scouting.org. And we modified it a little bit. You can see our treasurer has previous year's budgets in here. But what we start off with up at the top here is our registration fees. And this will be going up in 2022. I believe the new registration fee will be $72 for youth. And then the program fee will remain $60. But you can see based on the current fees, we budgeted both the program fee and the membership fees in, so that makes this $126. We're gonna have that fee for all 45 of our youth, which is what we were budgeting on at the beginning of the year, and that comes to a total of $5,670. We also budget in our adults. Okay, so we have, we budgeted for 12 registered adults. So it's there's that. We also budget in our yearly flat fee of the unit liability insurance. Now, for some of you, your charter organization might pay this. I recommend that actually. It's actually what covers them under their primary liability insurance. But nevertheless, we're putting that in here. Boys Life subscriptions. We want to make sure that all of our youth get that Boys Life magazine. We think that's really important from a retention standpoint. We know that youth that get Boys Life, or now Scouts Life magazine, tend to stay in the program longer. Usually, from my understanding, 1-2 years longer than those who don't on average. So plus it's just good thing, full of good scouting stuff that they like to read. So and then the accident and insurance. Now keep in mind this year the adults we budgeted for, but the program fee covers that for the youth this year. So we've got our registration fees. These are non-negotiable, right? We have to pay the registration fees. We've got the Boys Life in there, or Scouts Life, and then the adult insurance. Then remember I talked about advancement, and you can see we've budgeted based on those 45 youth. We went through, we entered the prices that it would be for the rank badges, the parent pin, the rank certificate, which again, I highly recommend that you include those things. The parent pin, it's so nice for the moms to get that, to get that little pin when their kid gets ranked. And and then the certificate is nice also, because if you ever need to go to the scout shop and get a new patch or get a duplicate for a second uniform or something, if you have that rank certificate, you can just show them that and you don't have to have an advancement report. I digress though. Recognition, you'll see we've got some recognition in there. We budget pack t-shirts. That was actually new for us this year. We also budgeted for handbooks for everybody. So these are handbooks that are given out at the end of the year for their next den level. Okay, so a new family is in charge of getting their first book. But then after that, we budget so that they get their next handbook when they cross over into the next den. Also their neckerchief. And then we also budget in a little bit of $5 for our 12 adults for little thank yous. Then now you start going into the activities, and the activities are much more of an estimate, right? You can see we usually have some money devoted towards a popcorn kickoff. This year it was virtual. But we usually try to budget about $2 or $3 per youth on the popcorn kickoff. Other activities, we usually have a rocket launch. So, this year we did have a rocket launch, but luckily we had some rockets, unused rocket kits left over, so we didn't have to pay anything. But if we were, normally we'd budget about $10 to $12 per youth on that, and when you do that, you can see, it just automatically populates right there. Scouting for food, we usually budget about $2 per youth. on that activity for the patch. Pinewood Derby, again, usually that's going to be probably about $10 per youth, because you figure you got the Pinewood Derby car, you got the ribbons, you got, for that event, you got trophies, you got decorations. So there's more than just the cost of the car itself. And then blue and gold, again, we'd usually budget about $10 per person on that event as well. So you can see we've got care packages. We in December we do we buy stuff to put together care packages for people who are homeless, and that usually is about roughly $4. Or I'm sorry, $2. That's right, because we usually spend about $400 on that. So here's what we have. Okay, if we were to do our popcorn kickoff, budget maybe $2 or $3 per person per youth on that. Rocket launch, we've got scouting for food, we've got Pinewood Derby, and we've got blue and gold. All those things come together and give us a nice little subtotal. So spring family camp out. Now we put these on the calendar, but we do ask families to pay as they go on this. So we don't budget a specific amount in there, because one, we found at the Cub Scout level, you may not get all the families, and so it just became easier for us to kind of say, okay, we're planning to camp out, but to go on this camp out, it's going to cost $5 a person or $10 a person. We usually try to budget just a little bit of money in there for registration scholarships. Normally we would have a little bit of money in there for a contingency fund, $45, $50 or so, just to give a little extra fluff in the budget, a little extra, for any contingencies that come up. And then we also have a voice and text service too that we do, which that usually runs about $100 a year. So between all those things, what you want your budget to do is come up with a cost per scout. So total right now would be just over $11,000. That comes to about $245 per scout. So then that means that every scout, in order to pay for that $245, if they sell $722 in popcorn, it's covered. They've paid for their cost of scouting for the year. And so probably what we would do in this case is move the suggested pack dues total to $245. So if a family comes in and they say, okay, yeah, we want to be in the pack, but we don't want to do any fundraising. Can we just write you a check? Absolutely. $245 is how much it's going to cost you. At the same time, we'll say, but we'd really encourage you to at least try selling some popcorn, because many of our scouts actually do pay for all their dues with popcorn, and many go above that, and they can actually use some of that extra money for summer camp or summertime activities. So that's our budget in a nutshell. You can see it's basically one page. We can share this. It's with anybody, any families, our charter organization representative, and it's pretty easy to read, I think, but it allows us to talk intelligently about what the costs cover that we charge. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here, and just wanted to, well, I'm going to go back there. So final steps. So once you have your budget or your calendar done, then the treasurer works with the committee chair and unit leader to develop a draft budget based on that calendar. So that's what I was just showing you. Then you'll want to share that draft budget with all the families and your charter organization representative. And then at the same time, schedule a time to have a vote for the final approval of that budget, which typically in our pack, we're kind of calendar planning from May to August. And then usually we have a kind of a final annual planning conference in August. We usually do like a picnic or something at one of the local parks, but we will schedule our final budget approval there. So we've got most of it pretty well lined out by the time we get to there. And then hold that final vote. And then once you have an approved budget, share that budget with all your members and your charter organization representative. I think it's very important to share it with your charter org rep, because remember, they technically own the unit. Your troop or pack or crew is actually part of their program. So if they're a church, it's a ministry of their church. If it's a school, it's a program. If it's a PTO, it's a program of the PTO. So you want to keep them updated and let them know and that you've done all this great work, planned out a cool year, and you've got a budget to back it up. So with that, that's kind of the basics of unit budget planning. I am always available if you'd like for questions. Feel free to shoot me an email, bob.dewar@scouting.org. And I hope that you have a wonderful day and planning your budget. Bye now.